20 turn, 130 amp brushless ESC. Fern Solo, Spectrum 6-channel receiver. Highway 1 RC. West-made build. Lexan body. Welcome back to Studio B here in the TandemCTelevision studios for the January 15th update. We've been working on Fern Solo's scale motor build, and we've got pretty good progress done on it. So what I thought I would do is I would just pull you guys around to this side, and we'll go ahead and take a look at where we're at, what kind of progress we've made, and what little bit we have left to do. Before we take a look at the scale motor build, I did want to take care of two things just real quick. One, I want to apologize for the audio again on these updates. If you didn't watch the last update, at the end I explained that the mic that I usually use has stopped working. I actually tried using some other mics, and I've actually isolated it to the camera itself. So the camera itself is the problem. I think it's the jack that you plug the mic into. So I'm having to use the mic that's in the camera. Have no idea what this audio sounds like because the mic is now on the back side of the camera as I'm filming here. So I hope it's okay. Of course, I'll find out during edit, and I'll try to make it as best I can during edit, but I apologize for the audio on these last few updates. I am going to be trying to figure out a way to correct it. The second item I wanted to take care of is we did actually pick up a new affiliate for the channel, and that new affiliate is actually the like button down below. For free, it costs you nothing at all. You can hit that like button, and it helps out the channel. New affiliate we just picked up, so hit that like button down there. And now let's go ahead and take a look at the scale motor build and where we're at with it. If you remember right, before we just had basically, I guess you could say, the shell of the motor in, none of the details. So I wanted to just give you guys an update on some of the details, how I went about producing some of these details, and maybe give you some ideas for any scale motor builds that you might be doing. And the first thing we did is we had to build, I guess what you could call a firewall, or just a panel to black out behind the motor, because the motor in this truck sits so far forward that the motor ended up sitting a little far forward in the engine bay. So I wanted to kind of, and it left a lot of open space back here. So I kind of wanted to close that in, and I used a firewall and then just a panel. It's basically just a 90-degree panel that fits within here over the fender wells and then behind the motor, giving a little bit of more of an illusion that it's kind of how it should be, because you don't have all this open space behind where you could see the chassis and the transmission and all that behind the motor. And it also gave me a space to add a brake booster and a master brake cylinder. Now these I just 3D printed off of some files I found on Thingiverse. You can find them on Thingiverse. I think I just searched, brake booster, and I found these. I scaled it down to the size that I needed. Also added an ignition box back here. It's actually, again, found on Thingiverse. I just 3D printed it. It's actually an Msd Ignition Box, but because it got scaled down so far, and my printer doesn't produce the greatest detail, you can't actually read MSD on it anymore. But I think it's okay. But that gives a little detail behind the motor, which I think helps set it back a little bit. If I had this to do over, there could be another option we could have done. I think I'd still do it this way, but there's a second option we could have done, and that's instead of stopping this panel here, right, we could have come all the way and just filled everything, and then kind of just set a valve cover and just the top of the motor on top of that wherever we wanted. You don't get the depth by doing it that way, by just basically making a cover. But you could black out everything and then just have that top of the motor. That's an option if this is something you're doing with like a D90 or one of these, and you don't want to move your actual electric motor back in the chassis, which I did not want to do on Fern Solo's truck. This is not my truck, so I didn't want to restructure the truck itself. That's why we ended up just doing it this way. But if you're in that same boat, you could just build a panel, and again, just mold into that panel. You could mold in just the valve cover, maybe the top of a turbocharger, whatever kind of motor you're using, just kind of that top layer, mold it into the cover for the whole engine bay. So I was thinking about that as an option, but again, you lose your depth by doing it that way. Anyways, let's look at the motor itself and the details that we added here. Now, a lot of this I added just through kit bashing through some old models I have over in the workroom. And before I start with that, I did actually add the intake side of this engine model. So this, if you don't remember, the model I used from this, or the STL files I used from this, also came from Thingiverse. When I say this, I mean the entire motor cover. Well, actually, let me take that back. The scale motor itself was created, I believe, by Harley Designs. I got that off Thingiverse, added it to just a cylinder that goes over the electric motor, and then molded in the scale motor into that cylinder that goes over the motor itself. Anyways, you can see all that in previous updates if you want to see how that was done. But before, I had not included the intake side. So basically on what Harley Designs had put together, the intake is essentially just the exhaust manifold upside down. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to use that. It's a little awkward, but because I wanted to add the piping coming out of the turbocharger, so this would be piping that's going to what is essentially a non-existent intercooler. But I wanted to give the illusion that it's running to an intercooler. I needed, obviously, the piping or hosing coming back from the intercooler into the intake. So I did go ahead and put that on, and then I just kind of created, I guess you could say, a bit of a throttle body here that I could run the pipe through. Now this particular pipe here is literally just the sprue from a model. So I clipped off some pieces that I could use to make piping for that kind of stuff. Now this one is actually a piece of exhaust from a model. I kind of liked it because it had a bit of a molded shape to it, and making these weird corners would have been difficult to do out of sprue. You could heat it up and bend it, but this was already done for me, so I used it. Now I did clip it down to size. Same thing with, you can barely probably see it, but the exhaust coming out the backside of the turbo. I guess what would be the wastegate and all that. That again is just clipped sprue out of a model, out of an old model that I can't remember if I built this one in the past or it's one that I just scrapped or whatever. But that's something you can dig through those old models you have for pieces you can use, so you don't have to 3D print them or try to create anything. There's probably stuff there you could use. And back here, I was going to do is basically a distributor. This is actually the oil filter that came with the Harley Designs model, a 3D printable model. I did not use the oil filter because where the oil filter would go is actually where the cylinder that wraps around this motor is at. So I just flipped it upside down. I'm going to use that as a distributor because I want to run some wires, like plug wires, back to it, which we will be doing. Basically, I ran out of time on getting this completely done, and I wanted to get an update out for you guys today here on Saturday. Ran out of time, but this will get done by Tuesday's update. We'll have some plug wires that we're going to run. I do want to run a wire from the ignition box to the distributor, basically the coil wire. I think I want to add some more kind of piping and hosing, maybe some hosing coming out of the water pump running forward. I was thinking about running a couple lines out of the master cylinder, like that's going down to the brakes, stuff like that, and maybe a bit of a wiring harness kind of look, just to kind of fill in, to add the details. In fact, I might run some wires out of the alternator also now that I'm thinking about it. But again, we'll take care of that before Tuesday's update. We'll come back and I'll give you a look at that. We'll be able to talk about how those things are created, to give you just some more ideas about building a scale motor like this. But I think it's starting to fill out the engine bay. Give it a little better look. Let me know what you think. Of course, let me know what you think down in the description. If you have any other ideas here also, let me know. If you have maybe something that I could do a little different, some ideas, something that I could add. We've got this servo that sits right here, so it kind of leaves all this space blank. I guess that's okay, but if you have some ideas, let me know down in the description. Like I said, we'll come back Tuesday with it completed, so I'll read all the comments that come in before, actually probably this weekend and Monday, so I can incorporate any of those ideas that you leave me down in the comments section before Tuesday when we get the final update on this, and I can finally send this truck back to Fern Solo. And then, of course, you can go check it out on his channel. But anyways, that's where we're at. That's the update on the here on the scale motor build. We'll get the final update on Tuesday. I think we'll probably have some more updates on the workroom, and maybe possibly an update on the Gremlin build. We'll see. We're also next week going to start getting back into CCG 28.4, so you can look for that next week. I think we're going to get back to working on Willie's Bar and Grill since I have it sitting over in the workroom. That's something we can work on. I think we'll get back to work on that next week. Like I said, new affiliate like button. Hit that like button down below. Leave me those comments down below if you would. Also, hit the subscribe button. That's something else that's free here on YouTube, is just to hit that subscribe button so you know when new updates are coming out. And then, of course, when we get working on other projects, you'll be updated on that. So hit that subscribe button down below if you would for me. And then, let's see, I don't know, maybe next time you're at the grocery store and you're just standing in line, you're like reading the tabloid magazine, standing in line, waiting to check out, maybe pull out your phone, pull up TandemCTelevision, show it to everybody in line, say, hey, subscribe to TandemCTelevision, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.